Hi everyone, my name is Ailuna, and I'm going to tell you the story about how I was stalked by my brother, since birth, the whole time. My brother's name is Richie, and he's nice and very kind and strong. He was like a father figure to me all these years. Ever since my mother died, my father started drinking heavily. His passion for alcohol increased until he went on a binge for months. Richie couldn't live in the same apartment with him, so he left home. I didn't know where he was living. He said he was staying with friends. Was that true? I don't know. Richie would come over when Dad was asleep or when he wasn't home. My brother would bring me something to eat and a present of some kind. Where'd you get the money?
I earned it. I didn't steal it.
Really?
What do you take me for?
It's just that I once heard you and Father talking. He said he wasn't going to bail you out of jail anymore.
Well, he did a couple of times for stealing, but I'm done. My friends are helping me out. Don't worry.
Why aren't you living with us?
I can't, but that doesn't mean I'm not around. I'm always around, even when you don't notice. So I'll pick you up and we'll get out of here. And you won't have to put up with that drunk anymore.
Then my father came in suddenly.
Who are you calling a drunk, you punk? Come here. What gives you the right to come into my house?
I'm going.
Wait, I didn't permit you.
I don't need your permission.
Are you being rude to me?
I'm out of here.
My father grabbed him by the hood and pulled him toward himself. Richie could barely stand on his feet. It happened every time they ran into each other. Dad, let him go.
You're getting cocky, aren't you? Have you heard of a man's dignity? Did you grow up?
You stink. Let me go.
A good one, punk.
I'll kill you.
Ha ha! You ain't got the guts. You ain't gonna do nothing to me.
This is all your fault.
Me?
You killed her. You're the reason we don't have a mom.
Slow down, kid. Your mom was sick.
You didn't even get the money for the operation. You could have saved her, but you didn't.
My brother started crying. I was scared. My father grabbed him by the collar and lifted him above the floor, and then abruptly threw him down and said,
"Watch your mouth and get out."
Richie looked at me and walked away, and Dad grabbed the bottle again. I went to my room and cried. I knew I couldn't live like this anymore. So when Dad fell asleep, I packed my things and left the house. I knew roughly where to look for my brother. I went straight to that neighborhood. It was creepy. It was a ghetto, a real ghetto. After a minute, I saw some gang hidden behind a wall. The guys were talking about Richie. I heard they wanted to set him up with drugs just to get him out of some dark business, so I decided to find him right away. After running halfway down the block, I noticed the guy who'd been talking about setting him up walk up to Richie and give him something to hold. I ran out at that moment and yelled for him not to take it, that it was a setup. Richie got confused. The guy punched my brother in the face and shoved the roll in his pocket. Suddenly, the cops arrived. They all ran away, and the cops tied Richie up. I ran up, screaming to leave him alone, that he wasn't guilty of anything, but it was too late. When I got home, I started begging my dad for help, but he didn't respond. He was drunk. I fell on the floor and cried, not knowing what to do. I was at a complete loss. Life had changed. My plan to run away went down the drain. That's when my father woke up. He got another call from the station. He got angry, hung up, and broke the phone in half.
Your stupid brother, I'm so sick of him.
Don't say that.
Why? Am I wrong?
He took care of me.
Him? I'm the one who feeds you. You live in my house.
You monster!
What did you say? I'm a monster? Well then, get it!
Dad hit me so hard, he split my lip. I screamed and he came over and hit me again, and then he walked out of the house. That's when I ran to my brother at the station, asked him to come out. When Richie saw me, he went berserk.
Did he do it? Did he do it?
I was silent, with my head down.
I'll find a way out of here, sis. Hold out for now. Get out of that house, okay?
Okay. I got home and started packing, but I didn't have time. Dad came back. He was drunk again, but not too much. He saw me packing and slapped me again, and then he locked me in my room and told me I was never getting out of there again. I couldn't open the windows. They were all nailed shut from the outside. Dad starved me all day and then opened the door and told me to come out and eat. It was horrible. I had no energy. Daddy bought me a sandwich and told me to eat it, but I couldn't. Despite my hunger, I couldn't eat. He started getting angry, yelling, and then he swung his arm. I squeezed my eyes shut, and at that moment, our window in the house broke and a rock flew at Daddy. He fell onto his back. It was Richie. Richie, what are you doing here?
We don't have much time. Let's go.
By the time Dad came to his senses, it was too late. We were out of there. Richie took me to a strange house. There was a girl there.
This is Stella, my girlfriend. You'll stay with her for a while. I'll be around forever, but as long as there is trouble, she'll be with you.
That's all he said, and then he ran off. Stella was sweet and kind. She fed me and then told me that Richie loved me very much and that he was doing everything he could to make sure I lived well. And how did he escape from there? From the precinct? Your brother is smart. He has connections everywhere. Didn't he tell you he's been saving up money all this time? No? What for?
We want to go away.
Go where? And who are we?
You, your brother, and I. We have a plan.
And your parents?
They're gone. My mom's in the nut house. She doesn't remember me. And my dad, he's a jerk.
And what if it doesn't work out?
You don't know Richie very well, do you? He's always watching you.
What do you mean?
He always knows where you are, who you're with, what you're eating, and where you're sleeping.
How?
He just loves you a lot. And since your mom, well, he's taken it upon himself to take care of you. I met him 6 months ago when he was looking for a present for you.
Shoes?
That's right. I picked them out and he bought them.
I love them.
Yeah, I see you wear them all the time. Trust your brother. It'll be fine.
Okay. We did as we agreed. I stayed at Stella's. We ate well and she took care of me. We scheduled a day to go to another state. After a month, Richie was able to get his problems sorted out and got released. We were so excited. The day came and we packed our bags and drove to the airport. As soon as we got there, those guys were standing on the doorstep.
Oh no, not that. Stella, go to the plane. I'll be right there.
But no.
Go.
Let's go. Richie stayed there to talk to them. Stella and I went to check in our luggage. I was so worried. I said I wanted to go to the bathroom, and Dad was waiting there.
What are you doing here?
You forgot something.
We don't owe you anything. Leave us alone.
You are my children, and you will live with me. Understand?
I don't want to.
Nobody asked you.
He grabbed me with his hands. I bit him and ran out into the hall. Stella saw me and came running to help. She grabbed me, and we ran toward Richie. He saw us and came toward us. I couldn't run anymore. I was so tired. Then the plane was called for boarding. The guys wouldn't let Richie leave. So he said something to them, and they came up to my father and dragged him out of the airport. We got on the plane and I buckled up. About 20 minutes later, I relaxed. What happened?
A long story.
Who were they, and what did you tell them?
Nothing. I just told them that my dad had money at home and that he would give it to them if they asked nicely. Then I told them that if they didn't want it, I'd turn their whole gang over to the cops, and they let us go.
Freedom at last?
Yeah, they're expecting us.
Who?
Aunt Maggie.
We have an aunt?
And she's great.
How do you know her?
I tracked her down.
You follow everybody?
Nope, just you. Since birth.
Yeah, thanks.
What? I'm worried about you. No need to worry now.
That's right. We flew into a new state for us, a new life. Don't ask how Daddy is doing. All we know is that he's alive and drinking just the same. The rest is all the same. My aunt took us in, and we're staying with her for now. My brother and his girlfriend found jobs, and I go to school. Things are finally getting better.
Hi, my name is Dan. I don't want to sound unassuming, but if you haven't met any guys who don't have a lot of nobility or something, well, I'm one of them. I'm joking, and I'm not joking. In short, listen to my story. I guarantee you will be intrigued. And yes, I will be happy if you write your opinion in the comments, as well as like my story. Anyway, at first we lived as a small family. Dad, Mom, Sister Abby, and me. We lived like everyone else. Abby and I went to school, and my parents worked. We did not often relax with the family. Recently, we used to like to skate and go to the movies together, or just sit at home and watch something, discuss, play Monopoly, and then entertainment became less and less. Abby and I have already asked our parents to sit with us, but each time we heard some excuses, especially from my mother, and then it turned out that she wanted to leave us. Yes, it was a nightmare. We didn't even believe it at first, but when my mother packed her bags and said that she had another one, it was a huge blow for our father. I was even afraid that he would never come to his senses, but little by little, we began to cope. Several years have passed since that moment, and I still remember how my mother ran out of the house to the taxi that arrived and did not even turn around. Of course, I was so angry. Abby was more upset, and Dad was in shock. And so, as soon as we all came to our senses, Dad gave us a gift. Guess what? I already had a bad feeling that day. I knew something bad was going to happen. I'd missed the first class, which was an important test. The teacher was mad at me, sent me to retake, and Abby had fallen off her bike that day and hurt her leg. I rushed to the medicine cabinet, but there wasn't even a green card. My mood was already spoiled. In the evening, we were waiting for my father. He promised to bring us delicious food and a restaurant. In the end, we set the table and were already hungry and waiting for my father, when suddenly the door opened and a woman came in instead of my father. Dad followed her in with a bunch of bags in his hands, and there was food. We got up and said hello like well-behaved children, took the package, and started unloading them. The lady said we were really cute and ran to wash our hands and then started helping us. We looked at her questioningly, but it wasn't proper to ask her out loud in front of a guest, so we just didn't say anything. It was just before dinner started that the father said the woman's name was Miss Tiara, but she interrupted him and told us to just call her Tiara. We also introduced ourselves and started eating. Judging by the dinner, and the way father carefully tended to her, it was obvious that they were dating, and not so long ago. When dinner was over, Abby and I went to our rooms. Before going to bed, Abby said she didn't like Miss Tiara, but I asked her to wait for her conclusions. After all, our dad is lonely, and it's normal for him to start a relationship all these years later. Our mother probably has her own family for a long time. Abby lowered her head and lay down on the bed. I made her promise not to tell my dad her opinion yet, at least until he officially made a statement. She agreed. Tiara had come to our house several times in the past week, and Abby still hadn't kept her promise. Tiara, she said to her as Miss picked up a glass of juice and sipped it slowly, "Are you sleeping with my father?" At that moment, Mrs. nose was full of juice. My father was choking on the meat, and I was all smiles. Father scolded her for asking such a direct question, but Tiara stopped him. She told Abby that she and Dad are dating and she really hopes to be friends with us. My sister said that our family doesn't need such friends. "We're fine without you," she said. Dad scolded her again, and I excused myself, took her hand, and led her into the room. I talked to her, asked her not to do it again, and asked her to give my father a chance. After dinner, of course, we both had a lecture from my father. I asked him if he intended to marry her, to which my father did not answer clearly. Abby said she didn't like the tiara, but Dad asked her not to be jealous and to give her time to prove herself. Then he went to his room. At night of the same day, my father received a call from work and was told to go on a business trip urgently. This didn't happen before, so we were very confused. I didn't know what to do with Abby, even though she was already going to school, but she still seemed like a child to me. Dad immediately called Tiara and asked her to come. Yes, she agreed to look after us for a couple of days in his absence. It was polite of her, but Abby was hysterical. We quickly saw my father off and went to bed. Abby came to my room to talk. She said she didn't trust the woman, and I explained that she was just jealous of father, but that sooner or later he would get married. At that time, we had no idea what was waiting for us. Abby and I stayed up late that night. I passed out, and my sister couldn't sleep, so she went out for a drink of water. She woke me up in the middle of the night, and I didn't even know what was going on. Abby was frantic about Tiara going through Dad's things, but I didn't think it was strange. Let her dig. In the morning, we woke up to the gorgeous smell of pancakes. It turned out that Tiara made us breakfast, which was nice, and I thanked her for it, but Abby didn't even touch it. Then Tiara said that she wanted to make friends with us, so she came up with some games for us, and walks in the park. I thought it was a good idea, and Abby didn't say anything, but I dressed her and we went to the park. After walking for a couple of hours, we got hungry and returned home. While I was changing, Abby noticed something strange in the house, and she said that Tiara had found Dad's vault and was trying to break into it. And I didn't like it anymore. I went into my father's room, and Tiara quickly jumped out of there. "Oh, I thought you were asleep. Don't you sleep during the day?" She laughed nervously. Abby called her a thief and chased her out of the house. I asked her to leave politely and watched her go with a very unkind look. We called my father and asked him to come. An hour later, the doorbell rang. Wow, is Dad that fast? I opened the door, and there were police officers and a tear-stained Tiara. The uniformed man said they needed to talk to their father, but when they found out he wasn't there, he wanted to take Abby to the station. To my questions, he said that she was suspected of stealing someone else's ring. Her, the policeman said, pointed at the tiara. "What?" I asked. "Yes, this is a mistake. It can't be. We see it for the first time in our lives," I shouted, but everything turned out to be useless. Tiara ran into our house and started turning everything over, and then opened the safe and pulled out her ring. Can you imagine my face? Abby started crying. I was in shock. I didn't know what to do. And then he said I did it. I took all the blame. They took me to the station, and I told Abby to wait for Father. After a few hours of waiting, my father arrived. He didn't know how to react, and the tearful Tiara rushed to his shoulder to cry. I didn't say anything. I knew he wouldn't believe me. He didn't take anything Abby said, because we're the only ones who know the code to the safe. And just when I thought I was really going to jail, Abby suddenly dragged my father home. She asked him to trust her, but I didn't know what she was up to. It turns out that our little smart girl remembered about the video cameras in our house. Dad looked at the records and saw everything for himself, then saved them and gave them to the police. I was released, and Tiara was put in my place. It turned out that she wanted to get rid of us, his children, so that we wouldn't get in her way. She only wanted to arrange their personal life, but we were superfluous there. It's a good thing we installed cameras a long time ago. My father was in shock, and for a long time asked us for forgiveness. Did you like our story? Then put likes, comment, and be sure to subscribe to the channel, friends.